And let me eyes focus on what's going on. Here we go. And good morning. I was going to say or afternoon, depending where you are, but I'm pretty confident it's definitely morning everywhere. Super excited to have you all here today. And yeah, just a quick heads up before we get things kicked off. Can you all do me a favor and hit the follow presenter button? Trust me, it's going to be a lifesaver as we work our way through this super duper awesome training course that we have for you today. And importantly, it will also mean that you won't miss any of the cool stuff and we can focus on, having fun and learning as much as possible whilst we go on our little FME Flow adventure. So here we are. A huge shout out to everybody and a big welcome to the FME Accelerator for FME Flow. This is a completely new training module. Actually, this is the second time that we've done it, taking all the good things from the original FME Accelerator for Form, desktop for those of you not yet caught up with the new terminology, and bringing you some new awesome content to help you get into FME Flow. And look, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'll probably say it 100 more times. FME is absolutely incredible. And from my perspective, it's had a huge impact on my life in my career. And you're probably freaking hard pushed to find a bigger advocate for safe software than me. Right, so now that we've got that out of the way, what we have for you today is a mix of interactive content with hands-on lessons that will be delivered in a 90-minute crash course on working with Safe Software's enterprise data integration platform, FME, specifically FME Flow. Cool, let's get this show on the road. By the way, if it looks like I'm taking a second or so, it's just that I have, a script here and I have my notes, and then on the right side, I've got two little things I got to click, so just bear with me. I'm sure that's going to annoy me at some point. But anyway, so my name is Darren Fergus. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a certified professional in Form, Flow, and certified trainer, and joined today with Pip and Jan, who will be helping me answer questions during the training. And so look, I don't want anybody worrying about this. Like we make this as easy as possible. We've got plenty of support. And these awesome folks that, are training assistants or TAs will be helping you out if you need it, right? So, and we're going to go through stuff, right? So don't worry about anything. We've got your back, so to speak. So the agenda, well, first we're going to do a bit of housekeeping, sort of run you through how we use Strigo platform for delivering today's workshop, just to make sure, everything runs nice and smoothly, because that's definitely what we want. And then we've got 4 sections to cover off. So question number 1, why data integration? What problems are we looking to try and solve with FME, and how does FME help us to do that? What is FME Flow? Really, we're looking to do here is, extend your understanding of what FME Flow is, and hopefully crush, some of those early misconceptions. For example, if you have FME Flow, then perhaps you no longer need FME Form. FME Flow is all about the power of the automation at an enterprise scale, and understanding that functionality that FME Flow offers us to be able to do this is certainly key, and something we're looking to try and, pass that information on you today. Then deployment options, what are the different ways that we can deploy FME Flow? And whilst we're all here, we're going to be looking at automation, real-time, and self-serve. So this is what it's all about. Why sit at our desk clicking buttons and watching things happen when we can automate our workflows? Either we're talking triggers, actions, or perhaps we need to consume or serve real-time data. Even better, we want to remove the onerous task by providing self-serve capability within our organization. Either way, it's super easy to, create true data orchestration with FME Flow. And of course, in amongst all of that, we'll be helping you to understand how it all works whilst giving you some hands-on at the same time. Click, click. See, I got to say it to make sure I do it right. So this event is going to be 90 minutes long. And as I mentioned, it's it's not so much a new format, but certainly FME Flow is. So, it's always important for us to get feedback from everybody. So at the end of the course, please put in your feedback. I don't care if you tell me it's horrible. We just want to know that, right? So one of the great things about this course, I think, is there's no messing around with any installations of software. Everything you need today is included in the Strigo platform, making it really easy. So before we kind of get going, just something else to consider. We're recording this session. We're going to email this out to everybody in the next few days. All right. Cool. So, as mentioned, Strigo is going to be the delivery platform that I'm going to be using to present this course. And I don't want to spend too long on this because, to be absolutely honest with you, it's fairly intuitive. But just as a preemptive measure, couple of key things. So, follow presenter button, top left. Remember what we said at the start. Be sure to click on the follow presenter button whenever I'm presenting. Look, otherwise, you might not see what I'm talking about, and you might get a little bit lost. The My Lab little flask icon at the bottom. Look, I would point to where these things are with my mouse, but it's irrelevant. There's no point because you won't be able to see that. But you can jump into your lab machine at any time. Just keep in mind, right, like it takes about 3 to 5 minutes before your machines come on. So as soon as I say that, some people go and jump in and say it's not working, right? So don't worry about this just now. You'll get into that later. But click the flask and the icon. That machine contains essentially everything you need to be able to do for this course, right? Chat, the general chat is used for the likes of getting feedback, from some quick polls that we're going to do, or me engaging with you and asking you questions. Or perhaps if you need a little bit more time on the lab exercise, I might say, does anybody need any more time, right? We're pretty efficient, not to be fair, guys. Right, so raise a hand, call for assistance. Look, if you need any help, then please raise your hand. Use the raise your hand feature or call for assistance button in the lab, because what that'll do is I'll put you into a queue where the TAs can come and help you out, right? They can jump onto your machine, etc. Just you got to be aware, and look, we'll go over this again, come close to the time, but there'll be a little notification that you get, like a message. Just make sure you look at those messages because that might be the TAs trying to contact you, okay? Lastly, open external lab button. So beside the little call for assistance button is the open external lab button. And this will open your lab into a separate window. So for those of you that kind of like got a double screen, right, or a really big screen, you can look at both at the same time. But look, to be fair, let's just keep it simple, right, and stick with what we have. But you can do that as an option. Okay. Lab is too small. Right, look, here's the thing. We live in a world of varying screen sizes, okay? So different devices, different screen sizes. So adjust this. There's a little option. When you're in the lab, you can increase the size of the lab desktop by clicking on the lab icon and then clicking Control and the minus button, or Control and the mouse wheel, right? That's the most efficient for me. If you don't see any of the exercises, like sometimes they're on a little popper, so they open out like a window, and then you can close them down again. Just make sure you click a little arrow to open them out so you can see the exercises. By the way, the exercise, when you see the lessons, right, it's like lesson 1, lesson 2. Don't go through all of them, right? Some people think, oh my God, there's lots to do here. And some people that are familiar with the platform go, oh, okay, I'll just power through all these, and then realize they've done it all. So yeah, just be mindful of that, okay? I'm just gonna grab a drink of water before we go through this. There we go. Right. So why do we need to think about data integration? Look, here's the thing. We live in a world full of challenges with respect to, data quality and how accurate or not the information is within a company or organization. So why do we need to have this problem, right? Well, as you can imagine, this is actually a rather complex question to answer, and here's an example for you. Did you know there are actually still many organizations struggling with old legacy systems that are somewhat in purgatory, whilst they like trying to modernize many of the elements of the organization, So unfortunately, these systems are a consequence of, some of the problems within organization. And these problems they're intertwined web of pain, so to speak, right? They're a detriment to the things that are meant to make changes, right? Meant to make their life easier, because they're all holding them back. And that leads to, of course, data integrity issues and so on. And look, this is one of the many issues as we kind of move into the ever-evolving world that has brought us those incredible variations of AI. With all the new possibilities we've ever had before, the rate of change, yeah, it's pretty incredible, right? So, there is hope. And the good news is that we can solve pretty much all these issues with FME in the enterprise data integration platform that it provides. Essentially, the lack of integration or the inability to integrate often leads to many of these problems. Data silos, essentially poor data quality, conflicting versions, and the arduous task of pinpointing, that single source of truth getting to the real value of data, right? Which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Remember that old mantra, poor data in equals poor data out. And this is, where FME steps in as the superhero, so to speak, right? It can streamline these processes, improve data quality, and sort of save the time, through integrated automations. And FME supports, over 600s of different 600s, making up words now, 600 data formats, starting with your CAD, GIS formats like Shape to the semi-modern, era of BIM, point clouds, and the early beginnings of Internet of Things, etc., right into AR, VR, and cloud, and with so many other things along the way, it even supports AI now as well. So look, there's no real reason to have legacy when you have the ability to be able to work with FME. So there's no reason to have data silos. There's no reason, to have you'd be stuck with one foot in the past and one foot in the future or the present. Probably a better way to look at that, isn't it? Right, so a bit of a poll. This will give us an idea of what everybody's dealing with. So what's your biggest challenge when it comes to data integration and automation? You can go A, B, C, D, or E for all of the above. Fire it in. Let's test out, see if you can put in a chat, right? So let's put in a chat there, folks, and let's see what people are dealing with. Who's up first? Yeah, 100% Shane. Like, absolutely, mate. It's almost everything all the time, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, thanks, folks. Oh, loving this. Everybody's engaging. This is great. Like, keep it going. This is exciting. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's exciting for me. I feel like it's always exciting for me, right? Anyway, so what's the solution here? Well, enterprise integration. And, that starts with your enterprise systems, being able to bring everything together through some centralized process and then being able to provide that to the end users. And this is exactly what FME does, right? It's effectively sits as a layer between your data sources and those end users. I sometimes think like to think of a good way to picture this is imagine that you were in a room filled with people that all talk different languages, and then picture just how hard it would be for everyone to be able to communicate information to one another. Yeah, like absolutely, that's a proper nightmare, right? And that's the problem 101 of many businesses. However, if you had a singular person in the middle of that could translate between all those different languages and people and do so, having many conversations at the same time, you'd be on one. That's exactly where FME fits in. It's central to everything systems, data, and users. I feel like I've got to get faster between the punchlines, right? It's like telling a joke and waiting about 10 seconds to change my slides. Anyway, and in the beginning was spatial. And because of this, the last 30 years has put FME way ahead of the game in terms of its spatial data. It's their speciality, so to speak. But, don't let that detract you from the fact that they support hundreds of non-spatial data formats as well. Spatial data is becoming increasingly important for organizations, adds a whole new realm of capability, at the end of the day. And there are just so many pieces of data that will always link back to a location of sorts. It's the reality of the world we live in. And understanding this spatial enablement of data, can be used to provide so much more information about the data that we have or the data that we have and any of the relationships there. And that's the very short version. And I can't emphasize this enough. FME is far more than a spatial ETL. It's a data integration platform that supports spatial. So you must always keep that in mind when you're thinking about the problems that you're trying to resolve in your organization. As mentioned, the FME platform fits perfectly into any organization, and it's central to everything systems, data, and users. The enterprise platform is comprised of FME Form, which is used to author our workspaces that does something with data, right? FME Flow, is used to connect systems via a variety of protocols, SMTP, FTP, S3, and enables data orchestration through FME Flow automations, apps in real time. FME Flow hosted is essentially FME Flow, but it's provided as a platform as a service by Safe Software in their own hosting environment. So look, there's really nothing to hate about FME, and there's lots of things to love. And best of all, even if they don't have a connector for your data sources, you will still always, always, always be able to connect with an API and transform your data with no code. Building everything in a fully self-documenting, unique GUI, having access to unique GUI is really a perfect solution, something that everybody can relate to and understand, that's supported by a fantastic company. You've got passionate leaders, Don, with, and Dale and all the folks at Safe Software, great staff, great support, great visionaries within the organization. And, of course, you've got like a supportive partners such as ourselves. We're all awesome, right? We love looking after everybody and solving the great problems, et cetera, and that's really, really cool. That's a good story, right? But just remember, though, one point I'll make on this, and this is to clarify an earlier point, FME Flow can exist without FME Flow can't exist without FME Form, but FME Form can still do things without FME Flow. So FME Flow is what takes your FME Form and kind of serves it up to the world stage, right? Opens up, wraps around a whole new capability, so to speak. And that's what completes the data integration platform. Okay, so before we get into the practical exercises, just remember these little tabs are key to finding your way around during the practical lesson. So follow presenter button. Yeah, you're going to get sick of me saying that. The little MyLab access, little cloud little thing down the bottom there is the access to the training machines. Raise hands if you need help. Raise hands. Yeah, raise hands. Raise hands. Now, just raise your hand if you need any help, and our training assistants will know that we need to jump on and help you out. Okay, so the scenario, building footprint updates. Look, it's always good if we can work with a somewhat realistic scenario, right? Something that everybody can relate to. And for those of you unfamiliar with the New Zealand housing industry, we are building houses at a particularly fast rate, catching up for when we didn't do that, right? Now, the data that we'll be working with is based on the booming construction in Hawera, South Taranaki, New Zealand. Yep, I know that was a mission, but I pronounced that right, so happy. Anyway, now, if you had a good think about it, right, there would be more than a few opportunities where we could, look to leverage FME in this type of scenario. However, let's keep it simple and let's work on a way where we can automate the information on completed properties by those construction companies being passed to the local authorities so that they can update their records on where the new dwellings are being erected. So new properties, hey, council, here you go, there's new properties, and they can add that to the system. So we're going to work our way through different ways that we can do that with FME Flow. Just for your information, this is going to be one of two main scenarios that we'll be working with, where the second one will be simulating, we'll be working with simulating an emergency management system, integrating with that. Trainer explainer. I like the way that rhymes. Trainer explainer. So just before we get into things, let's answer the question, how does FME Form and FME Flow work? Well, first, we need to author our workspace or workspaces, as the case may be. Our workspace is essentially a thing that has all the instructions on how we want to be able to manipulate our data, and it's carried out by these wonderful little things we call transformers. And in order to author our workspace, we need to be able to use the FME Workbench application, which is part of the FME Form suite. And worth a mention, it's important that when we author or build our workspace or spaces, our design must be with the deployment of FME Flow in mind. So, once we've done all those things and we've got it ready, and then we're ready to publish it, we'll publish it to FME Flow. And once it's in FME Flow, then we'll be able to run it on a schedule, perhaps build an automation and use some trigger or perhaps many triggers to make it fully dynamic, or perhaps we can run it as an app via browser, for example, where the contractor now is empowered to be able to upload their data via some app. Whichever we decide, all that's left to do is configure our user parameters and the permissions on who can access and manage our cool new things. All right. Whew, it's exciting stuff. All right, okay, so creating a schedule. Sorry, just get my notes in sync here. Okay. So what we're about to do and why. Automating our workspaces is a hugely important aspect of utilizing FME flow, and schedules are one simple way for us to be able to do this. I can't emphasize this enough. One simple way for us to be able to do this, right? There's lots of cool ways to do it, even better ways, but one simple way for us to do this. Essentially, setting up schedules in FME flow allows you to better streamline the running of your workspaces, which of course ensures that your workspaces occur on a regular basis without the need for constant oversight. One last thing on this. When designing our workspaces with FME flow in mind, we want to leverage the use of published user parameters. This will give our workspaces greater flexibility and configurability when running in FME flow. And that's not just for using schedules, right? That's something that's really, really important to understand. And this is what you're going to be doing. I'll give you a quick rundown, but all the instructions are going to be included in the lessons. So again, don't panic. We're going to log into the FME flow REST interface. We're going to create a new schedule with some kind of description and give it some details. And then we're going to set that schedule frequency, you know, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, or whatever other we want to set based on what the lessons tell you to do, not what Darren tells you to do. And then we're going to, you know, select the workspace we're going to run, and then we're going to complete that workspace, and we're going to test it to make sure it works, right? And then actually, before we go into all that, I'm going to hold your hand because I'm going to take you in and just do a quick walk around of what the machine looks like, just to familiarize yourself so you don't get a bit scared, okay? For those of you who've never seen it before. Cool. So it's going to have a wee look. Oh, look at that. Everything's open up for me. Fantastic. So this should happen. I don't know if you, learners do not see this panel during presentation. I'm glad Strigo say that because I'd be talking, everybody would be like trying to imagine what Darren's talking about. So on the left-hand side, so here I've got my screen. You can see everything here. So it opens up the folder automatically for you so you can find stuff. We've got FME form that's open. You don't actually need this, but I'll talk to that in just a second. And then we can open up the browser like here, and then I can just hit on my flow. And then down here, see, you've got a little password there. I feel like it remembers it from when I set it up, but can't quite remember. Just give that a second. There we go. So admin, is it going to remember it? Okay, that's okay. And what to say? FME, and we'll put in learnings there. Learnings. Okay. Cool. Piece of cake. Boom. We're into FME flow. Now I'm not going to take away all the cool surprise learnings here, but this is essentially it. You can save the password there. That's all good. These machines are throwaway. And if for whatever reason you completely manage to destroy your machine, don't worry. Don't panic. It's no big deal, right? Anyway, so this is the REST interface. This is what you're going to be working with, and you're going to be looking for this little button over here, schedules, and you'll be working with that. But let's look. I just want to, have a look at what we're looking at here, right? So I'm just going to minimize the instructions on the lessons, and I'm going to expand this up. This is my workspace. This is one of the ones that we're working with. So I want to talk to this just briefly because every workspace, I want to say should be a piece of art, right? And what I mean by a piece of art, it should be nice, clear, structured, have organization to it so that when you look at it, it just pops out and it makes sense about what's happening with the flow of the data through the workspace, right? It goes from left to right for those of you that have never seen a workspace before. In every good workspace, should have an about, right? Like, what does this workspace do? For example, this workspace will read updating buildings, data, blah, 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 blah. User parameters. What are the dependencies associated for this workspace? Who's the author? So, of course, maybe we want to contact the author if we had any problems, perhaps as a consultant and so on. And then, without spending too much time, I can see, well, look, something happens here. It looks like these are kind of grouped together for some reason, and then something else happens here, and I can go to the next level and go and read the annotation, right? But essentially, this workspace is the thing that you would go and create, and then you would take that, and then you're going to publish that up into FME Flow, and then you're going to do wonderful things with it, right? But again, we need to understand what the problem is we're trying to solve and trying to work out where our flow fits in and where our design for a workspace fits in. And that flexibility around user parameters because user parameters are something that powers FME flow. It gives options. It allows for change. So at an administrator level inside of FME flow, they could influence the workspace and the settings and the configurations in a schedule or an automation rather than having to come down and re-edit a workspace and publish it back up, right? So design is hugely important. And lastly, I'll say with this, when we're done with this, then we'd have a connection to a little FME flow, which we can see here, and we would go publish, and then we work through the steps of publishing it into a repository, giving it a name if it didn't exist, and then we could go and do something with that in FME flow. So look, I don't really want to spend too much time talking on this because, you know, it's definitely FME flow centric, and I just wanted everybody just to understand a little bit how it comes together. Right. So let me just get back to my slides. I think that takes us into the exercise. So just double checking. Yep. All right. So if everybody goes and jumps into lesson 1, please. And we're going to give everybody 8 to 10 minutes. Now, I found a really good way to manage time here is we're going to look at our clock. So it's just about to hit 11:30. So we're going to give, let's just say 11:40 at the latest. So if everybody can get this finished by 11:40 at the latest, that would be awesome. Okay, cool. Right, I'm going to turn off my camera and mute myself. And again, just remember, if you need any help, hit the little button there to ask for help, hands up. And I might just have a chat here. I think I can see Shane Turks asked a question. Cool. All right, folks, have fun. We'll see you on the other side. Alrighty, folks. So let's get moving on. So first thing we're going to say before we move on is, hit the follow presenter button. Good old Darn here is going to be talking a little bit more before the next lesson. So lesson 2, creating an FME Flow app. Right, so we can see all the benefits of a schedule, and that's just one real simple way to be able to roll out some kind of automation within your FME Flow. But let's go one step further, self-serve, right? So FME Flow makes it really easy to create apps that users can leverage within or external to your organization, right? So imagine a user requesting their own data via an app, or perhaps being able to request a map, or imagine we could give them a portal so they can upload their own data for validation before the system processes it. In that scenario, we could give them a detailed pass-fail report, so we're keeping it away from the system until they fix up their things. But ultimately, FME Flow apps are massively optimal for organizations, right? As they save a huge amount of time and resources from having to carry out these arduous tasks that our users would normally have to do, or consultants or people within the organization. So FME Flow apps are designed to use one workspace. Underneath the Flow app is, having a workspace that does all the work, right? And I'll mention this again. It's the user parameters that allow the options, the configurability that are in that workspace to the user within the Flow app. So FME Flow recognizes user parameters and it dishes that up to whatever it is that you're using inside FME Flow, whether it be a schedule, whether it be an app, whether it be an automation. So FME Flow apps are designed, to use one workspace, and that's the only thing they can use, right? Anyway, so up next, you're going to create an app, and that will allow external contractors to upload data, specifically building footprint files, to our database on, a more ad hoc type basis. And look, in the real world, this might even run alongside a schedule. Perhaps it could also have an automation, so we could have multiple FME Flow solutions at any one time related to one singular project. So we've got different ways to access and, process data from these organizations. So let's jump in and go on and do lesson 2. And remember, we're going to be working with about 10 minutes to complete. So if I just do a quick time check here. So time check. The time check is 10:42. So let's finish this up at 11:52. And we'll go with what we did earlier. That works really, really well. Just hit done in the chat, and then I know everybody's finished. And again, hands up if you need any help. All right, cool. I'm just going to turn myself off. So 11:52, folks. Alrighty, folks. Yeah, look, this is exciting stuff. Like, I'm sure that you could just, while we're waiting, give everybody 20, 30 seconds just to take up that minute there. Yeah, apologies for my typos. Like, you know how hard it is to type on this side and look at this side? Yeah, and then, when you've got really bad eyes and all that kind of stuff because you're getting old, that's where all these gray hairs come from. Locusts, they work me too hard, folks. That's what it is, right? If it wasn't for the excitement of FME keeping me going, I think you would have handed in the towel a long time ago. Jokes, obviously. Anyway, right, look, so we're going to get moving on. Hopefully everybody's starting to kind of get this, start to get the rhythm, so to speak. Let's just go back to my screen. Okay, so follow the presenter button. Yep, probably sick of me hearing saying that now, but let's follow the presenter button. And apologies to there's a couple of people that kind of got stuck with the lessons. So just going to reiterate again, just if you put your hand up, just double check messages coming through, and apologies if nobody's seen that, right? Talking to Pip and Yen afterwards. Anyway, right, so creating an automation is lesson 3. And so let's just have a little chat around that. So automations. Did I hear thou say automations? That sounds cool. Yep. As you can tell, it's all about the automations. So let's take a look at, FME Flow enterprise capabilities and all the benefits that come with them, right? So automations allow us to build fully orchestration, making up words now, orchestrated integrations, both across our organization and or external to that, or both, right? And automation is essentially constructed from triggers, actions, and external actions. For example, your automations could have multiple triggers, such as an email, a schedule, a directory watch, S3 bucket. Then we could have one or many workspaces orchestrating this data in real time, and where upon completion of that process, you receive an email, or some other external action takes place. And that's the flexibility. It's vast with regards to FME Flow automations. And it's also worth mentioning, usually but not always, the workspaces that run inside of an automations can sometimes use internal FME Flow resources. And this is what we're going to look at in the next lesson. You'll see an example of this. Right, so here's a quick summary of automation. Saves you time, and it ensures the data always is always up to date. I was going to say arrives on time because it rhymes. Anyway, so with FME, you can create all of your orchestration for transformation and events-based workflows in a GUI, which is very similar to the way we design our workspaces. So that familiarity coming together kind of helps. You can set up the business rules that trigger workflows to run on schedules and in response to specific events, such as an update to database or an email coming in. You can also automate your workflows to send notifications via email or other various protocols. So let's jump in and do lesson 3. And remember, kind of same thing again, but they're all kind of 10 minutes, right? So I think that it's not that these are super hard. It just takes time to read the instructions and map that out into a process. And if for whatever reason we get to the end of 10 minutes and you've not completed, don't worry, you can still go on and complete the next task, right? So, yep, folks, I'm going to turn myself off. Same thing again, hit done when you're done. And yeah, we'll see you in 10 minutes. And the time now is, so what are we going to be looking at? So everybody's got that benchmark there. We're going to be looking at, where are we? 11:54. So, yep, 4 minutes past 12 was what we're aiming for. Hit done. So we know you're done. See you soon. Gosh, got tracked away there in the messages, not paying attention. It's like, right, okay, we're moving on to the next part. So if everybody can hit the follow presenter button, and got to get my brain re-engaged there because I was getting into the comments. So that's cool. So working with real-time data. So now we're kind of venturing into that second scenario that I mentioned right at the start, and we'll be working with our simulated emergency management system, right? So imagine for a moment that our local authority has a heap of different assets on the ground, from buildings, vehicles, and the list goes on. Then imagine there was a way for us to somehow hook into an emergency management system that existed that can provide us information on specific events, such as flooding, fires, lightning, and whatever else we could dream up, right? Now, if we had a system that was able to connect to that, then that would be hugely beneficial for us. And in this case, guess what? Being our local authority example, using them, we had the ability to be able to react and respond to these emerging threats using FME. That would be super cool. So believe it or not, this is a ridiculously simple task with FME, and it's really game changing. And real time, it's all about the real time. Yeah. So having information that comes through as soon as it happens and then being able to act on that is pretty neat. So coming up next, we're going to work with using webhooks and how to give them to know the system and how that all works. Okay. So lesson 4. Let's get through there. Webhook automation part 1. Right. So when we're building a solution, it's always really essential to develop a testing strategy, right? So there's different components that we have to plan to put together, and it helps if we can visualize, or try to visualize what that final solution might look like in our head, right? So let's just clarify what the objective is that we're trying to achieve here, right? So our final solution should look something like this, right? It should be able to connect to our test EMS system. Our test EMS system will then send data to us via webhook that we're going to give it. Our automation will then receive that in the webhook that we've set up as a trigger. And then that will be able to pass that information to a workspace and get the workspace to process it. And then who knows, once we've got it into the system, then we can do other things with it, right? And that's where you come in, my friends. It will be your job to build a test, right, for being able to receive data via this emergency management system so you can see what it's coming through. And by the way, when I said your job to build it, I've already built it for you. You just need to test it out, right? So for part 1, we're going to be focused on testing that we can receive the data to the webhook that we've created, because if we can't, then we probably need to revisit our solution. And understand, one of the reasons why we also do a test is because when we get that payload coming through, that piece of data, we get a chance to look to see what it looks like so we can make sure that our way of processing it, extracting the data using our workspace is going to be valid, right? So how do we test this to ensure that we can receive data from the EMS system? Well, first, we need an automation equipped with a webhook. So before we build the rest of our process, we can then verify that the webhook functions correctly, it can receive data, and it's compatible with the EMS system, ensuring that we can successfully process that data once it's received. So for this task, we're going to test the webhook, which has already been pre-configured in FME Flow for you, and we'll use our simulated PowerShell EMS application to check that we can receive a message. Just a little note here for people, right? If you don't have access to the system, but you've got access to data, you can actually use FME and other things to simulate the scenario you're trying to build for. So keep that in mind. Right. So to keep it straightforward, the webhook is our trigger. We're going to add a log to this webhook, which is already set up for you to record the message from the EMS system, which is going to allow us to verify that it's functioning correctly. This method is what we call iterative testing, developing and testing modular components before we move forward and commit to the full design. And once we've completed this, we'll proceed to part 2. And you can jump into lesson 4 and get moving on with that. And sorry, one thing before you do, if there's any Mac users here, if you're one of them, be aware that the copy and paste won't work normally on your Mac. So you'll have to use the conventional Windows way, which is Control C and V, right? So for those of you that are Mac users, you've got a different copy pasting. I have no idea because I'm not a Mac person, right? But if you use Control C and V, that will work. All right. So again, 10 minutes. Have fun. All righty, folks. We're ready. We're zoning in on the finale now. Oh man, I'm loving these chats in here. This is cool. So it seems like some of you are kind of just you're getting with it, right? And you're just going, wow, why didn't we have this before? Love what David said there, right? Like hacking things together, right? Yeah, you don't need to hack things together anymore, right? Like it's super cool. Anyway, right, we're going to move on to part two. So follow presenter again. And let's just flick away through here. Trainer, explainer. Right, so processing the payload part two. All right, folks. So now that we've successfully tested receiving the data to our automation, it's now time to use our workspace to process it, right? So let's quickly do a bit of a recap on the whole solution again, or the full visualization of that solution. So the automation we have is built to allow our test EMS system to send data to our webhook. When the data is sent and received, this triggers our automation. And, inside that, we get some data. And in true orchestrated fashion, our action is then configured to run our emergency management workspace, which then writes that data to the workspace job log, right? So if you go and have a look at the workspace image, you can see there are so many additional things we could have done once we've received that data, right? We can send an email, we can write to a database, we can send an email and write to a database, build a report, send a report in an email, list goes on. But, maybe we want to send it to another system, right? So perhaps we process this data and we turn it into something that's useful for another system, and we make another HTTP call and we send that through so the other system can carry out some tasks. But the list goes on, and what we can do, there's varying different things. We can do one thing or lots of different things at the same time, and that's also the power of FME. So what's next? Having confirmed that our webhook works, we're now ready to put that data to work. Our next step is going to be to check that our workspace is now processing the incoming data that's received via the payload via that webhook. So here's a quick summary on what you're going to do next. You're going to enable the workspace action. You're going to restart the automation and then check the workspace is running, and then view the workspace job logs so that you can see where the information has come through. The data is being sent via the webhook and registered in the workspace. All right, so go off and do it and go and live your best life and have fun. Lesson 5 is the last one, and we're going to give everybody 10 minutes. And if you finish sooner, great. And then we'll probably go over literally 2-3 minutes, okay, on the time that we got. So we're aiming to finish it just after 12:30, right? So we won't keep anybody too long. And yeah, that's awesome. So look, 10 minutes, folks, and we'll see you on the other side. Same thing again, put done there, and then we can get going. Shane, I can help you. Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm just getting to the comments there. we'll just give everybody one more minute to. What's this telling me? Your audio and video seems unstable. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Yeah, we'll just give everybody like another minute or so just to finish up, and then we'll go into the last slide. But look, honestly, like I'm loving the interaction here, folks. Like this is what, you know, just seeing people get excited about something like this, you know, it's not necessarily you're excited about FME Flow. You're excited about suddenly you've got something, you've got a tool that, you know, it's somewhat easy to use, right? That could change the game when it comes to what you can do in your organization. And, you know, I kind of like to think that, you know, FME kind of gives us like superhero-like powers. We don't have to be a developer, right? We don't have to be a programmer. And, you know, we've got this really intuitive interface that allows us to go and achieve and solve some amazing things within the organization, right? You know, the superheroes of the organization, so to speak, you know, the people that can work with FME. And it sounds a bit cheesy and corny, but it's absolutely true, right? Yeah, absolutely, Shane. Yeah, I mean, like I said right at the start, for me, you know, FME just set me on a completely different career trajectory. It was the best thing I ever did in my life, next to marrying my wife and having my 4 kids. Whoa, I probably need to put them in first, to be honest with you. But look, hey, if you just hit the follow presenter button, we're going to get into this last slide. And, you know, just as you know, Locus has been around for, you know, quite a number of years now. I think we're like, must be coming close to like, 15, 16 years now. But, you know, services, resourcing and training, you know, I love training, folks. I love passing on every piece of knowledge I have in the training sessions that we do. We also have Locus Plus. So if you're looking for support for your business, and, you know, whether that be doing, work, development work, or guidance, counseling, yeah, because it's like, hey, I'm ready to jump off a bridge. Can you give me some counseling there? No, but we'd love to be able to help you. So we've got some different flavors of things that we can offer there. So please reach out and we can give you whatever it is you need. And I think it's also important as well, you know, we're not about charging every dollar for every interaction, right? Like we love building relationships and focusing on helping you to get the things that you need and to be able to work into the things that you need to be able to get to. I think that's hugely important as well. Sometimes that's just by leveraging friendships and help and support in those ways, right? So you can always reach out to me. And then, of course, FME community has a vast swathe of people that are kind of like me, that love to share information, knowledge, and the things that they've built, like, you know, custom transformers, etc. And then, of course, we've got the beautiful people at Safe Software, the visionaries that be able to develop this software for us. And, having access to them, you know, is hugely important as well. So anyway, FME Hub. Yes, FME Hub. Get on FME Hub if you haven't already. Sorry, I'm just getting too excited with everything. So look, I would just like to say a really big thanks to everybody for taking the patience and the time out of their day to come and do this. I genuinely hope that it's been beneficial for you, and it's just giving you a bit of an eye-opener and a window in to the world that we have here. And thank you very much for the comments there, folks. And if you ever need anything, you know, I love to be able to help people. I genuinely do it. And those of you that do know me in the industry will be quite well aware of that. And Locus, you know, it's a great company. We've got great people that have been working in the organization for quite a few years, right? I think the oldest person working here is like being 12, 13, maybe even 14 years, which is Gary. And that says a lot about the company and our values and what we want to be able to do for you guys. How can we create a REST API from FME Workbench? Rajiv, let's send that in an email, right? And so if you send an email to darren.fergus@locus.co.nz. And thanks, David. It's been cool engaging with you and some of the things you said there. Hey, how's it going, Viviana? And that was a taste for things to come, Viviana, right? Just think what the next chapter is going to be. Yeah, thanks, Jeanette. Thanks, James. Thanks, Fraser. Thanks, Ravi. Oh, it's dangerous when you're pronouncing names here, just in case you pronounce them wrong. Thanks, Joe. David, cheers, appreciate it. Andy, thank you. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about, Viviana. Marshall, yeah, good to see you, Marshall. That's awesome. Yeah. And just think, we're going to have 2 days of doing this. you guys, right? And that's going to be awesome. Thanks, Christian. Thanks, Melissa. Gosh, it's been fun. I've enjoyed this. And by the way, we have great attendance. We're up to like 43 people or something. So that's fantastic. It really is. It's brilliant. When the Locust team has worked hard to put this together and work collaboratively with Safe Software. So big thanks to Safe Software. Honestly, these guys are just pivotal into some of the stuff that we do. And we've got Ryan Craig with us from Safe. I seen him earlier on. So he's been sitting in the background there. Probably getting real buzzed up, going, look at all these people. Yeah, look at all these people. We're going to change your lives. Super cool. Thanks, Jeepers, Gurminder. Thank you. Yeah, now that's great. Awesome. All right, look, I think that's it now, folks. We're going to tie things up and just say last thank you very much. And yeah, perhaps we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye now. If I could just find the end button. Oh, thanks, Rajiv. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to find the end button so I can leave. Oh, here we go. Found it. See you guys.